Hey guys, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. And this camera is my favorite by far. I just replaced my Ring Floodlight one in that exact same spot, and this one is so much cooler. So as you can tell, it's tracking me. Even though it started pointing, the camera was pointing opposite direction, it detects all the way around and it flips that camera around impressively quick, as you just saw. And then it records and tracks that person or object automatically for you, both in pan and tilt. All that processing artificial intelligence is done on board that camera. It doesn't go out to the internet, to the cloud, and also it's stored locally on that camera and it's encrypted, but none of that costs money for a subscription. So once you buy that camera, all that stuff is built in and included, and in fact it doesn't even need the internet for that stuff to work. So that's really impressive. That's probably my favorite thing about it, other than the features. But the other thing is those lights. They're 3,000 lumens. The Ring Floodlight I had, it was a 2,000 lumen setup, but these are adjustable in color, and then I really like the panels, the 3 different panels. I'm able to get the light all the way around 270, even more than that, degrees, really to light up this space. So let me go through the rest of the features of it. I am not paid to boast about this camera, by the way. I really do like it. It's my favorite setup. I have like 9 Ring cameras, and I'm really kind of mad right now because I want to replace all of them with the Eufy stuff.
Alright everyone, I'm going to cut to the chase and give you the top level summary right now. Not going to make you wait for all the details, which I will walk through, app setup, camera setup, installing it real fast, and further video including comparison to this Ring Floodlight one. That's later, and you can use the chapters in the video description or in the little timeline if you drag it there to help you find what you want to see later on in the video. But for high level summary, this is what I replaced. This is a Ring Floodlight Cam, and you can see this is the orientation I had it set up in to try to get the view that I wanted, because it was a compromise. I wanted to get more of my deck and I couldn't because of the way it was set up, and then the lights were harder to aim because of the way that they are on here and in which ways you could put it, as well as you were constrained by having the 2 bolts. I could only have the mounting plate in one direction. I couldn't rotate it because I would have to replace the little electrical box in there. With this one, it has a center single screw, and that allows you to do any orientation, but it also doesn't really matter because it has so much flexibility. So I actually got another one. So this is another one because I love that that first one so much. The other one's still out there. I didn't take it off to bring it in, but this appears to have really good quality. A lot of these components are aluminum, like the housing for the LED lights. The thing, it weighs like 5 pounds, so that gives you an idea of how much mass there is in here. Now this outer portion is all plastic, so this white and this black here is plastic, but it feels like it has aluminum or metal as a main structure and support, with all of these hinges feeling really sturdy and strong. So I have no doubt that this will last just as well as these Ring things. And then the thing that is most impressive with this to me is the fact that I feel like you actually get what you're paying for. With the Ring, my biggest frustration is you're so hindered by the Ring cloud system, and there's the lag and the speed issues that I've seen with the Ring stuff. I do like that it's very much plug and play, and you don't have to bother with the Ring setup. It does all its cloud recording, but having the local storage is nice. You don't have to pay the subscription. And then the artificial intelligence I like on here. Ring has been continuously improving a lot of their stuff as far as artificial intelligence. It even determines, like, you know, if it knows the face and if it's a person that keeps lingering around in there. So they have some good stuff there too, but the video quality has always been on the low side and not really high enough that you can get really good. You can't get some great facial recognition for a burglar or something out there. You get more of an overall image of the person, but it's too compressed data because it has to go out to the cloud, and it's 1080p to start with, and it's this big fisheye. So this camera is actually way better for video quality. You know, it's a 2K resolution, and then since it has the pan and tilt camera, it doesn't need to have this crazy fisheye. It can be more of a regular lens and pan around. So that's really cool. And I like their app interface. It's intuitive. It was very easy to figure out. They do have a web browser as well, version that you can sign in, and you can do like a live view from it. So it has a lot of the key features that I won't. Now the camera isn't cheap. You know, it's very expensive, I think, for a camera to start with, but so are the Ring Floodlight. So in that sense, they're comparable, but I feel like you get a lot more bang for your buck for this guy. As far as cons to this Eufy cam, the main thing that I would say is, one, the form factor. You know, it is bigger, so if you wanted something more inconspicuous, this isn't it, obviously. You're gonna have this big guy up there. The Ring one looks a little bit more like a normal floodlight with an extra little camera sticking off. The other thing is the downloading of the file. So, you know, when you're on your app, you can download the file from here onto your phone, and that is slow. Like, you know, a 2-minute file is like 38 megs or so of size, but sometimes it takes like a couple minutes to download that. And you know, obviously that could be tied to my Wi-Fi speed, but the speeds are good there, so I'm not exactly sure what that is slow on. And then on that same point, you can't, I think I couldn't find a way to download multiples of them all at once. So that's a little bit of hindrance if you like to move those files to your phone or something else, your computer. That's a little harder to do. The web interface does not give you access to those files, only the app does. So in the web interface, you can do live views, and if you have cloud storage, then you can go and see your history on a web browser. But if it's just local, you're not paying for subscription, you have to use the app to do it. So that's probably my biggest downside to it that I've seen so far. And otherwise, I'm still like giddy about how cool it is that the camera whips around as soon as it senses motion. And then I was contemplating adding another light. You might have seen some of my other videos on lights, but this is so versatile in being able to fold these lights in different directions and angle them. I'm able to light up my pathway there around the deck and not needing another light source, whereas this one did not fulfill all my needs for lighting. So I do recommend this product. I think it has a lot going for it. You know, I just did a review on their S40 cam, and that one is battery powered with a solar. And I had a little bit of a complaint with the speed at which it detected motion, and when it started recording, it was slower than my wired Ring Spotlight cam. This one is, I would say, faster than Ring. So the wired one, man, that thing is quick at pulling out. I mean, I'll pull out of my garage, and this thing gets it right there. It starts the recording like 5 seconds before the motion is detected, so I don't lose any movement when it's in frame. So that standpoint, I think this camera is really good at. And you know, I had a little bit of complaint about the battery powered one, but this fixes that concern. So go ahead and consider this camera a great one to buy if you have a need like I do to see around corners and have it automatically track people, and also have the light there. That's great. If you don't need those features, then there are cheaper Eufy versions that are you know, they don't have a light, or they're much more compact. They don't have the automatic pan and tilt. So let me get on to the rest of the video and you can go into all the different details. And again, if you like the video, do hit the thumbs up button down below, and of course subscribe to the channel. That helps me out and the channel out. So thank you guys, and take care. A lot of my outdoor cams are Ring, and so I have a couple of the Ring Floodlight cams with the lights that you can adjust, and this has some really neat features that go above and beyond. I think this is their top of the line camera from Eufy, and it has some really nice features here where it does AI motion tracking. It has the 360 pan, and then it has the tilt up and down, as well as having 3 different LED lights that you can adjust for angle, where they go, brightness and color and whatnot. So let's get this guy opened up. You know, we can look at it. It is a 2K resolution. It has the subject tracking I was talking about, 2-way sound and audio. It has you know, it's obviously weatherproof rating, so it can be outside. It does work with voice assistants like Alexa and Google Home, so I'll test those out. For the lights, it's 3000 lumens of brightness. I think my Ring Floodlight ones are 2000 lumens, so this is certainly brighter than those. And like I said, those are tunable, so you can change their angle, the temperature, and the color of them as well. And then some other neat features about the Eufy that compared to Ring is the AI detection and things like storage. They are all internal to the unit itself, and so that means it's faster to record. It also does not need Wi-Fi or internet to actually work, including the AI. So the artificial intelligence that detects if it's a human or whatnot does not need the internet, and that is an important feature for some people especially. So let's open it up and see what all we get with the box. All right, so this guy is certainly not small, and it's not light either, but it is action-packed. All right, so here is the camera as it comes out of the box, and it has the toolless option here to loosen up these light panels and adjust them, which is really nice to not have to have a screwdriver or whatnot. And these obviously don't see a lot of load, so it makes a lot of sense to allow the user to do it purely by hand. Now this does have some blue protective film over there, and they're telling you not to remove it until installing the device. That way you don't scratch up that surface. Probably the same thing for the camera itself, pan and tilt. But I need to show you guys what this looks like up close. Okay, so I removed those plastic covers. I will say those things are on there really well, but now this gives you a good indicator of how these LEDs are set up. You can see the individual diodes that are in there. And what is really nice is this guy can tilt up and down at different angles. And then, like I said, each of these sides can rotate in or out. And then they also have a separate up and down tilt. So really a lot of adjustability, which is really nice. That's actually one of my big complaints about the Ring Floodlight Cam, was there are very specific angles you can get to, and I had to really try to contort mine to get light where I wanted it. It did not really work out as smoothly as I had planned, but this one has a lot more adjustability, which is nice. So here's your 3 wires for your power. They also give you some connections to go to a standard electrical junction box that this gets mounted to. This, in its default setting, would be for a ceiling mount, and then it also has a vertical mount. You press this button, it opens up like this, and now this is still where you connect to your junction box on a wall mount. The funny thing is, it really makes a shelf here, a ledge for things, and even in the manual it shows you that a bird might nest on there. And from my experience with where I'm out here in kind of the woods, a bird definitely would find this place to use as a home. So, you know, as well as it being a little bit bulky and large when you're looking at it from a wall mount. So to me, the ceiling mount is certainly the better option. Luckily for me, that is where my install is going to be. So on here, you can see this camera. The camera is on a motorized unit that has 360-degree pan ability, I guess would be the word. So pan capability. And what's really neat about it is that it has 3 different motion sensors separate from the camera, that if the camera doesn't detect that person, because the camera is looking, let's say, to the right, but the left side motion detector detects motion, the camera automatically spins around, looks at the left side, and it will then detect the human or the object, and it can do the tracking from there. So it's on paper, that sounds really cool. I'm gonna go out there and test it and see how well it does at picking things up like that and pointing towards them. So alright, so in here in the box we have our quick start guide. We have some stickers for letting people know that you have Eufy for security, and then you have a couple features here in the bag that is for mounting it to the electrical panel and or installing the wire nuts for the connections. So you have the wire nuts, and then you have some machine screws for different things. Like here's a green grounding screw for connecting things. You have this little metal bracket that goes into your standard holes on your electrical conduit box, and with the hardware to include it. And then that big center machine screw, that is actually for connecting the camera to that support beam, and that goes through the base of this machine. All right, and then they also give you a strap, and this is kind of interesting because this strap is used for holding up the camera when you're trying to attach the wiring. Typically you're on a ladder or something to get access to this, so this is a nice little thing that they added and didn't make you try to figure out how to hold the camera while you do the wire nuts as well. Okay, and then after that they do give you a USB cable. Alright, so they do recommend that you actually set up the camera inside before you install it, so once you install it, it is good to go. And I'm perfectly fine with that. The only thing that could be a downside of that is knowing your Wi-Fi signal, so you do want to make sure that you have good Wi-Fi signal wherever you're going to install this, and you can check that out with your phone as well. But on the back of here we have this little silicone plug that is nice and tight, so it's weatherproof, and that's where you have your connection as well as the sync button. So let me get this plugged into my computer here. Okay, so now that it has power, I am going to open up my Eufy security app that I've already had downloaded and created a user account, and then I'm going to click add a device, and I go down to the Cam Pro. I just need to scan this QR code here on the base of the camera. Alright, so it's giving me plenty of warnings to not stare into the light. I'll make sure I don't do that. I did take off those protective covers there. So I plugged it in, and now I need to see if the red LED is flashing. And it's not currently. That would be because it's not plugged in. Okay, so now you can see that the red light is flashing like it's requesting.
Until you hear a beep.
Alright, so now I press that sync button, which is right by that USB. And now I can see that light is flashing blue on top of there. So now it's connecting to that camera. Okay, so you enter
Connecting to the Wi-Fi network. Please wait.
Alright, so you enter that Wi-Fi information and you let it connect.
Setup was successful.
Alright, I'm going to give it a name. So we're going to do... So now we'll let it update here the firmware. Okay, so now it is successfully updated. And I can see it here on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and snooze it because it's already giving me reminders. You can see it does 31 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours snooze. And so what's neat about the snooze is that it stops the push notifications, but the camera still records all the motion events. So you don't lose anything, you just don't get annoyed with it. So that is kind of neat. So if I look in here and I press the play button, now you can see it is on, and you can manually move this around. And it's a little funky because it's at an angle, so it doesn't look right, but that does the 360, and then you can pan it up and down. Okay, so then on the bottom you have the record button. I'm going to turn off the sound here because I hear myself talking. You can have the little scissor button, which is a screen shot of what is currently viewing. You can press and hold that button so it can speak out of here. I gotta let it give me a microphone. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. So that seems to work fairly clear. If you press the 360, it's going to look funny here, but it's going to spin 360 degrees and give you a view. So we'll better off doing that outside. Okay, and then let's see, you can drag it up and see some of these other options. You can see the past events, the night vision, alarm, the tracking options, and calibration as well. So if we go into, these are sub settings, but basically you can get the same thing by hitting this gear icon up top.
All right, so now I'm outside, and this is where I have my Ring camera, and you can see it's all funny looking because that's the orientation I had to get just to try to get the field of view that I wanted for the camera. And it's not ideal because if you notice, the camera is pointed really at that shed there, and that motion sensor is it does have a wide coverage, but it really works better when it's pointed where it needs to go. So it's never been ideal, and then the lighting situation isn't perfect what I wanted. I even had to modify the little ball joint up at the camera to get it to rotate up enough. They're not really that well designed for being a ceiling mount. So I'm going to replace it with this guy and show you how it works. I'm really excited because I'm hoping that this camera with the wide motion detection with the 3 different sensors and the camera automatically panning and tilting, it will get things from that side as well from this way and all the way over here on the deck. So let's set it up. All right, so there we have it. We have it set up. So let me play with it on the phone and see if I can set up some of the motion detect settings and auto tracking features.
Okay, so let's go in here and play with some of these settings on the camera itself. We've gone through those first toggles. You can see motion detect is one of the top ones there, and obviously you want it on if you want to detect people and record. And the first thing you can do there is an activity zone setting. And so the important thing that pops up here is that you only will be notified of motion if it's inside that zone. If you don't set the activity zone, any motion that it detects at all will be a push, unless you have it, we'll talk about it in a second, as only human versus all motion. So here you can see I can hit the plus sign, and then I can move that around. I can move and do these different shapes. It is a hexagon, so it has some limitations because it only has those points. Like the Ring, for example, you can on most of their cameras you can actually draw a shape of almost infinite points per se. And you can only add 2 of these, so you can have 2 separate ones that either can overlap or not overlap. But that's the funny thing, or kind of weird thing on here, is that appears to only let you do that in your default preset location. So I can't have that motion be outside this field of view of the standard preset. So that's kind of a fault to me, I think. But I don't use these. I let it detect all the motion. So let me delete these out so they're not in my way anymore, and go back. So here, detection type, human only or all motion. I like catching wildlife and other things, so I put it on all motion there, but you can certainly change it. And then for detection range, this was standard before, and I changed it to advanced. I haven't tried the automatic. The automatic says that it adjusted automatically, but I just went ahead and did advanced, and then I set my left and right at full detection sensitivity, and then the middle one, since I have a shed only like 20 feet or something away, I put that one less than the full sensitivity. So that's something you could play with. They do have a test mode here that you can press, and you can walk, and it will give you the red light on the camera when it's detecting motion. So that's one way you could kind of test it and hone it in. If you wanted to stop before a sidewalk or before a street, you could play with that there. For monitoring settings, here you can have tell it to motion track or not motion track. I don't know why you'd buy this camera and not do the motion tracking, but the other thing they have is tracking sensitivity. Level 2 seems to be the right one. That's the one that I've used, and I have the footage like that started with this video is in level 2. I've played with level 3 some, and it's very busy. It likes to jump around, so even if I'm staying in the same spot, it's kind of trying to move more than you would want for it. So that's at least for me, and perhaps that's because a lot of my footage that I've taken, I'm fairly close to the camera, and if you're looking at something further away, you might want it to be more sensitive. Alright, so preset positions. This is one that I was trying to figure out for a while how to make it work, and this is where you found it. So the default wasn't filled out, it was blank, so I had to hit a plus. So what I did here is with these numbers, you can these arrows, you can move it around. When you do that, it kicks on the light. But once you find a field of view that you like, you hit the plus sign, and then that will make that the default field of view. So when it detects motion and it follows it and the motion stops, after the motion stops, it goes back to its preset default value. And so that's how I have mine set up, is pointed this way, but as soon as it detects motion, it moves. So that is, you can add more of those preset positions, and then you could have it cruise. That's what this auto cruise is here, where you can tell it to cycle through those different positions at a set amount of time. Out of view detection, this is obviously where the camera is facing one direction. Do you want it to automatically detect motion out of view of that camera? And for me, I did, so I turned that on, and then you can see here the left vision. It shows you what it would look at for left vision and right vision. So you can adjust that. So like, for example, if you wanted your right vision to be not as far, or you want it to be further, you could set that up here so it knows which way to pan to when you have motion on that sensor. Okay, so that's it for the motion or monitoring settings, I'm sorry. And then the light settings, you can either have it not use the light or use the light. You can have it be comes on at sunset and turns off at sunrise if you wanted it to. And important to note is with that you can change the brightness, so you don't have to have it at full brightness. If you wanted something like a, you know, not a mood lighting, but if it's a mood lighting for outside, you could turn that brightness all the way down to 1, which is not bright at all, but you could set that somewhere where it's dim if you wanted to, or some other schedule for that matter. And then the motion activated light, you have a couple settings here where when motion is detected, what do you want it to do, and you can also change how quickly it can be, slow, fast. It can be a smart where it says, you know, only if there's a person that's moving. And then timer, you know, you can tell how long to leave those lights on. I have it at the shortest duration in case it gets some you know, random trigger to not leave on for too long. And then this brightness and color now is for when it's motion activated. So I think it's really nice that they allow you to select a unique color and brightness based off these different activities. So ambient is one, motion is another one, and then the third is your app control. So if I want to use my app to turn on the light manually, I can have different. Now if you see mine, I think mine are all at 100. I think some of them were at 50 before. I like the full brightness, so I just cranked it up all the way. And then the other one is for Google, this just tells you here's how you integrate it. So we'll show that actually in a second here, how that works with the Google Nest display. All right, next is recording settings. So this is just, do you want it to stop early if motion stops? And for me, you know, Ring has the same type of option, and I do leave that on. There's a couple times when it's not ideal. One, if you know something like someone pulls in to the driveway there and they stop and the car stops moving, but you can maybe see something on the inside going on, the camera might stop, and where you know you would like to continue to see what's happening. But for me, I have it stop, and you can change the duration from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Video quality, this is 2K. You can change the streaming where it will be adaptive. So this would be for, you know, home Wi-Fi or away from home. It will determine how much to compress or make smaller that live view. And then here, night vision image adjustment. You know, it says that's for a wall mount, but I put it on mine because even though mine's a ceiling mount, there's a wall right beside it. So I thought it would actually be good to turn off it. What it looks like it does, it turns off that IR light that's right up against the wall, and so that prevents your night vision from getting washed out because you have a wall so close to it. So I turned that on. The color night vision is just the spotlight coming on. And so this is when I were to click a live feed, does it turn on that floodlight automatically or not? All right, audio settings. These are just, do you want microphone and speaker on, and you can change the speaker volume and recording options there. Notification settings. Most efficient is what is default, and I don't like it because it just tells you that there was motion. It doesn't give you any thumbnail. So full effect is, I think, the right compromise, because it gives you the push notification that something happened, and then as soon as it processes and like finds a face, then it adds the thumbnail in with it. Full effect is what I like there. If you do the thumbnail required, it would delay you getting notified until the thumbnail was ready. And then you can change the motion alert sound on your device. Okay, so then storage, this just tells you if you're doing local or cloud, and you can do RSTP to a NAS device on this. So those are all options, and you can set those up here as well. For me, I just do local, and you can see here that you know, I've used up you know, a couple tenths of a gig in local storage, and it'll automatically clear the old ones as it goes through that. Okay, so then there's also a cloud storage option here that obviously you can do. You have to pay for it, and it looks like right now it's $3 a month for the basic for just one camera, or $10 a month for up to 10. But I think there's also an annual option that's discounted from that price as well that you could do. And then there is the NAS or the RTSP version for saving that you can do, and that's kind of up to you to configure and figure out. If you don't know enough about that, then probably best to leave it just for the cloud stuff. But it supports RTSP. That's probably the most important thing for some users to know. Last one is calibration, and that's just it doesn't really explain exactly what it's doing, but some kind of calibration with that pan and tilt for it to do. And then the rest of it's just the basic settings for what Wi-Fi you're on, time zone and whatnot, and some guides. So that's about it for the camera. And online, I guess I can show you guys that real fast, what the browser interface looks like. Okay, so the first thing you have to go to is mysecurity.eufylife.com. I don't know that there's a link from eufylife.com directly. This was kind of hidden for me to find. But once I found it, it's just your standard login for Eufy. And then, sure enough, here's what pops up for it. So it will, if I click play here, it will show a live feed of the Eufy Garage. Alright, so here it is, and that's just showing the live feed. But this is very much like the Google display, meaning that you don't get any options with it. You can't change it around, pan, tilt, that kind of stuff, turn lights on or off, put the siren on or off. So that's something to be aware of, that it's just a live feed. And now if you had the subscription with cloud storage, then you could go to events similar to what I was talking about with I've done with Ring, where you can select lots of videos all together. Alright, but so obviously I have no videos in cloud storage because I don't subscribe to it, so there's nothing for me to see here. But you would be able to typically go in here and at least sort by the camera and then the date of the recording. And then the rest of it here is really for them to sell you, their protection plan or cloud storage and what services you have signed up for, which I have none. Okay, so now we will see how well it integrates with Google. Now I already linked my Eufy account to Google, and there's instructions in the Google app on how to do that, how to link other devices. And this also works with Alexa, but for me, just right now, I'll show you this in Google. Show me the Eufy Garage.
Okay. Streaming Eufy Garage on Den display.
Okay, so now you can see that is a live view of that Eufy Garage. Now there are no settings. If I click on it, I can't pan or tilt, I can't turn lights on with this, but I can just view where it is on that default preset. And right now the lights are not turning on because I have that setting in the app that I told it to not turn the lights on when I viewed it, but you can toggle that on and then it will turn lights on when you connect to it through Google.